Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. Thank you for having us here tonight. We're excited. We're here for two public hearings. We're going to go ahead and start the one. We'll provide a presentation. We'll open up the public hearing and allow the public to comment. And then we will close that one, and then we will have a second public hearing. So the first one will be about our comprehensive plan, and the second one will be about the planned action ordinances that you've heard about a lot for a while now. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Lisa to start our presentation.
Thank you, Liz. Lisa Grueter with BERK Consulting. For background, the city of Burien is undergoing its periodic update, and it's doing so under the laws and guidance of the Growth Management Act. Vision 2050, which is a regional plan applicable to the 4 counties of the Central Puget Sound. The countywide planning policies for King County that gives the city growth allocations based on that Vision 2050 strategy. And then the Burien Comprehensive Plan, the city still has quite a bit of leeway to set its own vision and goals and policies. The growth for the next 20 years is to add 7,500 dwelling units and 1,433 emergency beds, and then 4,770 jobs. There was quite a bit of engagement since the fall of 2022. There were 21 events around the city to ask about the vision for the comprehensive plan, the associated parks plan, transportation plan, and survey, interactive map, and workshops. And we got about 1,300 comments through that effort. That set forth work towards updating the plan itself and bringing back some ideas, both to an advisory committee for about a year-long process at 6 meetings, as well as some events in the spring of 2023. There was open house and online interactive tools, and then some focus groups with community-based organizations. And we got about 205 responses at that time. And then in the fall of 2023, there was the draft plan sharing and an open house here with about 75 people. And then the city published a draft environmental impact statement and a draft plan early in 2024 and put it out for a 60-day comment period and got about 25 comments. That then allowed the Planning Commission to pick up the comments and the draft plan and provide recommendations that have been shared with you in study sessions and is brought forward in a hearing draft this evening. It has a number of chapters, both some that are existing like equity, as well as some new ones on housing. Housing is largely updated because of the state law changes in HB 1220 that asked the city to look at affordable housing and growth targets at different affordability bands. Human services is a new element that the city chose to develop. And then climate change and resiliency is another new element that is based on your climate action plan that you adopted a couple of years ago, as well as a vulnerability assessment and policy review that the city conducted in 2023 as part of this effort. All the elements have been updated to reflect the new growth targets and to reflect updated policies. One of the central features of the plan is a future land use map. It is a blend of different ideas that were developed with the advisory committee and the public in 2023 and evaluated in early 2024. And the Planning Commission developed a preferred plan that blended different ideas from the draft environmental impact statement alternatives as well as public comment. And there were changes made in response to the public input. It generally has a greater downtown area with the most intensity in our urban center here where we're sitting. And then it also reflects additional transit investments in Ambaum area. It also reflects some existing and potential mixed uses along First Avenue and in Boulevard Park, where there's been some input about wanting some additional business opportunities as well as housing choices. All throughout the city, there is a designation called residential low, either 1 or 2, and it is reflecting the HB 1110 intent to allow for middle housing, so more home ownership opportunities throughout the city with different housing types throughout. And those are generally near to where the corridors are, the RL2, or near where transit is, and RL1 are areas a little further from transit or a little further from corridors. This table here is showing some of the capacity numbers. Generally speaking, the city had less capacity than needed under the current plan. It was about 1,000 units short. Here you have more capacity than the 7,500, but necessary in different zoning categories or land use categories in order to meet those affordability bands. So additional mixed use and multifamily on the corridors, as well as some of the other middle housing types were meant to help you meet the new affordability targets. And this proposed plan also meets the job targets as well. It has an expansion of the industrial area that's similar to what was studied for the NERA area about 20 years ago. That's the comprehensive plan overall. There are some new documents that serve as an element of the comprehensive plan. So the Ambaum Boulevard Park Community Plan was started about a year before the comprehensive plan. The city received some different grant funds, and there was a commitment when I think Boulevard Park was annexed into the city that that area would eventually be studied as for its own plan. So there was a 2-year process for engagement. There was an environmental impact statement that studied that area in particular before the comprehensive plan EIS. There was a preferred plan that came through an advisory committee. So the process is highlighted here on the slide, starting in the summer 2021 through the present, going from a visioning effort to policy to different options for those corridors, and then into a preferred plan. And then as that got folded into the comprehensive plan, some of the future land use and zoning refinements have been done in tandem. This slide is just showing a snapshot of the different engagement events for those 2 areas: an advisory committee, pop-up workshops, block party, and interactive maps, and comment periods, and planning commission review. And then the urban center plan is one that you adopted in 2020. The area has been designated as a regional growth center since 2005, which means it has priority for infrastructure investments through the Puget Sound Regional Council. Having a sub-area plan is required by the Puget Sound Regional Council, and that led the city to the 2020 plan. Because there's been a revisit of the future land use and zoning in this area, some of the concepts plans needed a little bit of adjustment. Largely the concepts in the plan are carried forward for mixed use, job rich and housing rich area. Based on some public input at the northern boundary, about 10 acres was reduced from the urban center, which was a little bit closer to what the 2005 boundary was. So it's basically changing it back a little bit there. West of Dottie Harbor Park, I believe. That plus some of the other future land use adjustments reflect some of the public input. So to make everything consistent, we needed to go back and make some targeted changes here. And another major piece was the update of the transportation master plan. It was set forth, I think, in 2012, and then the city went through a multi-year process in tandem with the comprehensive plan update. A lot of those engagement events I described at the top were done with the transportation plan, parks plan, and comprehensive plan, and eventually the economic development strategy all together through a coordinated Shape Your City engagement process. The major goals of the transportation master plan are shown here for connectivity, multiple travel options, equity, and how investments are prioritized, supporting economic development, and counting on strategic funding to achieve those different projects. There was a process of weighting, scoring and weighting the different kinds of projects, with weighting being high for ensuring that the projects allowed for different travel options, connectivity, equity, economic development. All those major goals were part of the scoring criteria with different weightings. And that led to some priority projects for all modes that are shown here. There's a number of intersection improvements, bicycle projects, pedestrian projects, complete streets, which means all modes, corridor improvements for bicycle, pedestrian, and vehicle. There's additional vehicle capacity projects, not many, but some. And the total cost was meant to match the 20-year financial forecast. And it also includes a new multimodal level of service that's required now through Vision 2050 and the Growth Management Act. So, Mayor, that completes our slide presentation.